We probably talked about this program before, but it's been a while. Maybe we have some new insights.
Oh gosh, yeah. Babylon 5. I'll tell you. Um, so I've talked a lot about my experience at cons, meeting the celebrities and so forth. And I got to say, the convention where and I think it was like, I don't know, second season or third season, I can't remember exactly, of Babylon 5. There was a convention here in the Chicagoland area, that was just, the convention itself was just awful. But I do have to say that the celebrities made it pretty darn awesome. They saw what was going on around them. They were treated really crummy by the convention. They knew that their fans that had come to see them were struggling, and they were like, "We're going to make this the best show for them that we could." And that's where I met most of the people in that picture right there.
You're blocking Dr. Franklin.
Yes, I am, and I feel bad about that.
Okay.
Let me go ahead. Well, I don't want to be. I don't want to be there.
Well,
I don't want to block that.
No,
so
you
I'll
can
just kind
move
of
back
that.
in a minute. I just don't want people accusing us.
No. That's exactly
You're
right.
blocking him off because he's okay. Yes, no, he's yes.
So with maybe 2, 3 exceptions there, we met all of them at this particular convention. I think the only,
was Kosh there?
No, Kosh was not there.
Okay.
I'm forgetting the psionic, the blonde psionic gal. She wasn't there.
Lita Alexander.
And neither was Garibaldi, which hurts me the most now in retrospect, because I never did get to meet him, and that would have been just aces.
He was the Italian representation on the show.
Right, that's exactly right. And as we would later find out, the conservative representation in the cast, but that's a whole other thing. Although he was there, we had met Andreas Katsulas a couple of years earlier at a Star Trek con, because his first convention of any kind was at a convention in the Chicago area where he was there representing the Romulan Empire, and we worked security with him.
Hammerlock on TNG, right? Yes.
Yes, exactly right. And I'll tell you, so they were all sitting in a line, signing autographs, and you could literally just go down the line and get each one of their autographs. And I actually thought that this was pretty cool for a smaller convention. I don't think this would work at some of the bigger cons like MegaCon or whatever, but at this small con, you could buy all the pictures of the people you wanted to get a picture, get an autograph of, and then walk the line and say, can you sign this for me or whatever. Well, it was really funny because Netter was carrying the camera so she could take a picture of me with each of the people signing autographs, but she was also carrying the pictures. And we got to, I can't remember, I think it was Bill Mumy who was there that we had just talked to, and then right after him was Peter Jurasik, Londo.
Yes.
And then after him was Mira Furlan, who played, what was her name? Ambassador Delenn. Yes. Yeah. And we get to Peter Jurasik. And I saw somebody knew this story was coming because I've told it before. I get to Peter Jurasik, and I looked, kind of look left, look right. And I'm like, just like I had with Bill Mumy. Bill Mumy was getting this a lot. Man, I was such a fan of you on Lost in Space. And some people were even having him sign Lost in Space pictures and stuff like that. So he was getting that a lot. But almost nobody was saying things like that to Peter Jurasik. And I got to him and I'm like, look, I said, I'm going to tell you, I love what you do. You really make Babylon 5 for me and many of the fans. I said, but I got to be honest with you. I was a fan of you long before you ever did this, because Hill Street Blues. And he just lit up. He's like, oh, man, that's so great to hear. And, And
Mhm.
people love to hear that you're more than just a fan of that one character I'm here to promote. And we just got to talking a little bit, and he's like, "Hey, you gonna get a picture with me?" And I'm like, "Well, they said we really couldn't, so she was just gonna." And he's like, "Who said? Said what? I do what I want." And he gets up and he pushes the table apart, and both Bill Mumy and Mira Furlan look like, what's going on? And then they start laughing because they're like, okay, we know what's going on. He's like, come on over here, kind of almost in Londo voice, right? And puts his arm around me, gets a picture with him. I thought that was so great. I said, well, let me help you put the table back before someone gets in trouble. He's like, well, it's not going to be me getting in trouble. We then move over to Mira Furlan, and Netter's got, she got Ivanova's picture, and I don't remember who else, and Mira Furlan. But Mira Furlan, it was a picture from first season where she had the full-on head thing. And
Yes.
Netter's like, well, you tell it, because you...
Yeah. So I've got like 3 pictures of women, and I'm looking at her, I'm looking at the pictures, and I'm like, I'm sorry, can you pick out which one is you? I don't recognize you with hair.
Oh.
And Peter Jurasik heard it, and he starts laughing. He goes, "That's a good one." And she's like, "That's fair." And she points to her picture. It was a great time. These guys were all great. Now, I've already told my story about just this past couple months ago where we spent like a friggin' half hour talking with Bruce Boxleitner. Didn't get that much chance to talk to him at this previous one, but he's a lot of fun too. A little bit more bass.
Honey,
than
you underestimated. We didn't talk to Bruce Boxleitner for a half hour. We talked to Bruce Boxleitner for almost 50 minutes.
Yeah, so that's like a half hour, just a little bit more than half hour. No, it was really, really good stuff.
There's
But
Bruce.
and I'm totally burying the lead here too. This was a show that, look, this was not based on anything previously. This was J. Michael Straczynski created this show. Now, people in the chat are going to argue this with me. I've heard it both ways. I don't know what the truth is anymore. But from what I've heard, J. Michael Straczynski had pitched this idea of a neutral zone space station between warring factions. He pitched this to Paramount, CBS, whoever it was at the time, for a series set in the next gen. And they passed on it. And he's like, well, okay, screw it. I think this is a really good idea. I can make this work, and I'll do it without using any other, IPs. I'll just make it my own. Well, sure enough, he goes into producing this, and then suddenly Paramount announces Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, the parallels are so ridiculously similar. You could totally see where this would have been Bajoran, Cardassian,
Sure.
Klingon, all of them. And I'm like, wow, man, that's just pretty low stuff. And when you get right down to it, Deep Space Nine didn't start out very strong. It got real good, but it took a long time to ramp up.
Had a
Kind of
great
like
pilot.
Olive.
It did have a great pilot, though.
Let's be honest, it had a great pilot, but again, that was focusing on a great captain character with
Sisko.
I mean, the emotion there, for crying out loud, losing his wife, becoming a single father in the military, and that whole bit about trying to explain how humans experience time in a linear fashion to these temporal creatures that see all of time at once. And
Prophets,
they keep showing up in different images of memories, and one of them being his wife saying, but if you're linear, why do you keep coming back to this point? You never leave this. And they're talking about his wife's death. It's not linear. And he starts to cry and he goes, you're right, it's not linear. It's like he's trying to explain himself and they explain themselves to him through a very emotional moment. And it was, I'd say that moment of him wrestling with not getting past his wife's death in that pilot is just like Grace Zabruski and her scream when she realizes her daughter has been killed in the pilot of Twin Peaks. But getting back to Babylon 5, talk about another one that really gets you from the very beginning.
Had a pilot. Was not as... Go ahead.
You go ahead. No. You go for it.
I remember watching the pilot and not being completely sold, but I said I will still watch it when it comes on TV because there weren't a ton of science fiction shows on TV, especially ones that weren't Star Trek. So I figured let's give it a chance. It wasn't as rough as TNG's beginning, but like I remember, I don't think they had the makeup quite down for all the alien creatures. I think they made them look a little too alien or something in the beginning. Yeah. And I think they dialed that back.
Well, let's face it. Yeah. The race that Kosh comes from is like, oh my gosh, that's like way thinking. I mean, you don't start seeing that kind of alien until we get Project Hail Mary, I think, or something like that, where you go, no, this isn't just a humanoid, with different head bumps. This is a creature that grew up on a completely different environment, Yeah. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it, You
might see it on something like Doctor Who, maybe. You would see really weird aliens, but even though they didn't have the effects all the time. But this show had effects. It had it was totally CG.
Very early CG, which... I mean, it was somewhere between the photorealistic that we have now and like Money for Nothing. It was somewhere in between there, and I realize that's a big gulf, but it kind of really worked.
Yes,
because one thing that they really had on very interestingly was the space physics. You had these ships that would thrust, for speed, and then they would shut down their engines, turn on thrusters to turn 180 degrees, and then fire those same thrusters again to slow down, to go back the other way or to stop. There was no inertial dampeners or anything like that. And I'm like, that's really cool. And although they didn't really do the convention of no sound in space, before Battlestar Galactica did it, this show did, where it would have very muted sounds for the firing. So it was almost like if you were inside the cockpit, you would hear a sound because it would be reverberating through your ship, but you wouldn't hear it outside the ship. It was very, very... They'd have explosions where you would just see the light in the distance, and you would go, wow. The silence was almost deafening,
Yeah.
The ending for Babylon 5 still hurts to watch. Yeah. That's amazing stuff.
I was a fan of the pilot movie in past, and my dad started watching the show and talked me into it. That first season was much better as it went on, because the first season is really about introducing you to the world, but there's always some new nugget you get each episode about something that's going to be relevant later on. So nothing's really a waste of time. Yeah.
The other thing that I pointed out, that this show was a little bit ahead of its time. It joins the ranks of things like Twin Peaks, where you kind of want to have watched it all along to get what was happening. Deep Space Nine starts getting into that kind of thing too. Yes, each episode does stand on its own and you could enjoy them, but if you want to see the overarching story, you do want to watch it from the beginning. And what was very important is, you said the first season really introduces you to the world, but it takes its time to introduce you to the characters too. It ties them to the world. It ties them to the history, and they all have baggage. There's been wars. They fought against each other. There is prejudices. There is animosities.
Earth had two major wars with alien races before the show begins.
Exactly right. And you're dealing with the fallout of that. And as you're going, you're filling in that history. But one other thing that J. Michael Straczynski does that so few writers did, we got it a little bit from the people that did Fringe. But I think Fringe was a little bit more haphazard, grab things. J. Michael Straczynski had a map for 5 years. He knew where it started and where it ended. Now that his plans get detoured a lot as one of his main actors had to leave the show rather early on. So he had to work around that using a substitute, a bunch of other things, a cancellation after, I think it was season 3, where he felt he had to wrap everything up, and then he had to re-ramp it again when they got to season 4 and 5. So it was kind of a nightmare for him. But he planted seeds of story very early on that have wonderful payoffs in the later season.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so second season, you get an influx of new characters. It's almost like we don't want to hit you with everyone at once. Get to know these characters, and then season 2 will add attachés and assistants for you to get to know. And one of those being Londo's assistant, Veer.
Yes.
Played by, what's his name? Firth. The one who played Flounder in Animal House. No, I'm drawing a blank on his name. We did an in remembrance for him too.
Stephen Firth.
Steve, was it Stephen? Okay, Stephen Firth.
We've had a lot of in remembrance.
A lot of people from the show. Very few. Delenn here is no longer with us.
She was on Lost, though. She got a second acting gig.
That's right. She did. Yeah. She. Oh, yeah. She really. She was on. Yeah. In fact, her scenes just, I forget anyone else is on the show, but that's beside the point.
The interesting thing about Babylon 5, Mark Malkin was mentioning how Jakar was a Klingon. I think what the show introduces is that all the races have warrior castes. Like
right.
Humans do, so do Minbari, and those are sort of like where you would find the more Klingon mentality, I think, rather than it being a specific race. Of course, I felt bad for the Narn, because the Narn were wronged badly by the Centauri, but
and you've
they're
got
not perfect either, though. Yeah,
you've got the I'm forgetting what her race was. The Minbari. The Minbari, which you could analogize to either and or both the Vulcans and the Bajoran, because you got this like very priestly class. They're very very stoic, but they've definitely got a warrior class.
Oh yeah.
That they're the warriors. And then you've got the near godlike
Vorlons.
What was Vorlons?
Well, they don't know they don't know much about Kosh. The Vorlons are very mysterious. You find out later on they're what they call one of the elder races. And hold on.
Right.
Who's going to forget about Zathras? I should have had a single photo for Franklin, though. I forgot about that.
Talk about planting seeds. His story is so timey-wimey and done so well. It's time travel done right, because it sets up all the stuff that has a payoff later on when the time travel stuff is revealed, you know?
But I was watching that original first episode of just the main season, not the pilot.
Oh, here's another Star Trek relationship. Oh God, help me with her name.
I always have it.
And I know that Nate's gonna know her name like that.
Trisha Tallman.
She's the ginger.
Tallman, right? Yes. She was the star of the remake of Night of the Living Dead. She was also Gates McFadden's stand-in in Star Trek: The Next Generation, because she was the stunt coordinator, or one of the stunt coordinators for Star Trek: The Next Generation, and many other shows, actually. So it was kind of nice that she gets her own, her own character on a TV show. She did also play some minor roles in Next Gen besides being a stand-in.
Lita Alexander, that was her name.
Lita Alexander, right? Exactly.
There's a lot to unpack with Babylon 5, but it's I always felt the impression, like when it was on, that Star Trek fans, they were going after Babylon 5 fans and they were whatever, but maybe that wasn't the case at the conventions. I think that Star Trek alum didn't have a problem with this show. You see a lot of Star Trek alums show up on this show.
That's very, very true. That's very, very true. And I think the fact that, the whole, like I said, whether or not it's true or not, the idea that this was originally pitched as a Star Trek show and then Deep Space Nine. I'm sorry, you try comparing this to Deep Space Nine, and Babylon 5 is going to win every time. It really is.
Deep Space Nine, though, I'm going to admit, holds up better than I remember it holding up watching it now, though. I mean, I won't throw shade at Deep Space Nine. Do I like Babylon 5 more? Yes. But there's
if you stuck it out until the final seasons of it, then I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I feel like Babylon 5 more hit the ground running. Yeah, maybe it was a big ask with the first episode to get to know all the characters and the lore and I keep comparing it to Star Trek. The better descriptor or the better analogy would be to Lord of the Rings. You actually have, if you consider what's his name? Sheridan being like Strider, and you consider the
Rangers.
They had their own Rangers. You had the Shadows, that would be like from Morgoth or whatever. You have Delenn's people are basically your elves. I mean, you kind of. There's clearly meant to be at least some allegories to, and let's face it, you do the same thing with Star Wars, drawing from things. I mean, there's nothing new under heaven. I don't begrudge any creator pastiching some of our favorite fandoms as they create their own brand new, worlds.
Mike O'Hare as Commander Jeffrey Sinclair, and he passed away September 2012 at the age of 60 due to a heart attack.
Yeah, and he had some serious health issues very early on, which is why he had to leave the show and then come back for a guest appearance later on.
I thought they worked that out pretty well, though, because we didn't know what happened to him. I thought maybe the actor left or the studio said we want to recast, so we got a different captain. But they didn't kill off this character, and he actually shows up later on, and he actually plays a very pivotal part in the lore of the series later on. So I don't want to spoil it for those who are watching it for the first time.
I can say this, though. It ties in with the timey-wimey storyline that I alluded to earlier.
So many people.
Yep, Andreas Kansoulis. All of these, with the exception of the doctor who passed away before we started doing Geeky Geezers, all of these folks have in remembrances on earlier Geeky Geezers. Real quick, wanted to say hi to Jesse Green. Good to see you, my friend.
Jerry Doyle, Garibaldi, everyone. Yeah. I mean, it's sad, and this. I mean, this is probably why we'll never really see a
I got the impression that Jerry Doyle and from things that, and I don't want to speak for him, but I'm just giving the impression. But what's his name? I just said it. Tron.
Bruce Boxleitner.
Bruce Boxleitner, yeah, was saying such nice things about Jerry Doyle. It's just. We mentioned something about how many people we'd lost, and when we got to Jerry Doyle, it was like a special hurt for him, like they'd been close. And I hope that was true, I mean, not that I want anyone to hurt over someone's death, but I love to know that people were remembered fondly too.
Yeah. A lot of intrigue on this show, though. There's bad stuff going on with the Earth government when a certain president takes over during the course of the show.
It's kind of weird. And we've talked about this too, because Straczynski will tell you, this was absolutely meant to be a commentary on this, that, or the other political thing that was contemporary at the time. But you look at it and you go, but what you're talking about has always been and will always be, so it's very easy to project any time. Oh, I see that face, and it's like, dude, you've got to see this show just for his storyline.
That's Mr.
I don't want to
Morden.
give anything away. Yeah.
Let's just say that there are.
What do you want? I'll tell you what I
Okay,
want.
let's go over this. There are 5
Yeah.
main alien races that are the power players in the known galaxy. There are
Right.
the Narn, the Centauri, the humans, the Minbari, and the Vorlons. That doesn't mean that there aren't other powerful races out there that people don't know about. And maybe this guy is their ambassador, okay?
Right.
I'm probably spoiling too much as it is. There's also the League of Non-Aligned Worlds. We don't give them enough credit. That was interesting. They were other alien races that basically formed a loose alliance with each other because just for protection.
Which I always felt like was something missing from Star Trek. I really did feel like if you weren't part of the Federation and you weren't part of the Klingon Empire, you were your own thing. And why weren't the Romulans siding with the Gorn and the Tholians or whatever? I mean, why weren't there more of those kinds of alliances?
If I was doing Star Trek and like setting it after the Next Generation time period, basing on the present, I would have almost an alternative federation that might be inspired by the European Union, with many of these like smaller group races banding together as like a foil for the Federation. Maybe not necessarily enemies, but like a foil for them in situations. Maybe they have different ideals, and it can be made up.
Especially given the line from Star Trek VI when Asa Bor says, and of course this is from a Klingon perspective, she says, "What is the Federation but a Homo sapiens only club?" And I could totally see a whole bunch of alien races looking at the Federation that way. It's like, if we don't agree with your ideology, we're out on our own. If we don't accept your prime directive and this, that, and the other, and in a way, Quark was there saying that from the Ferengi point of view.
Yeah, that's not true, by the way. Homo sapiens only. The Vulcans also carry a lot of weight, but that's about it.
You're not wrong. It was almost like
Vulcans. That's what it is.
The humans on the leash of the Vulcans. Really,
I don't want to say leash, but they hold
I think there's. If you watch Enterprise, there were some humans that felt that way.
Oh, I know in the beginning, based on what I've seen from that. But it's interesting. But yeah, this is Mr. Morden. There's a lot of other creepy stuff going on here. Like I said, Straczynski said he was inspired by Lord of the Rings, Foundation's Foundation series, and the Lensman Chronicles, which were a big science fiction thing I was a fan of. He wrote screenplays for those books that were going to get produced into movies by Universal, and then they chickened out. They were going to have Ron Howard direct them. I'm so mad. We could have gotten Lensman movies, but whatever. But I don't want to get too much into spoilers, but these things, you see these, you run.
Yeah. So here's a great use of the CG, right? Because these shadow ships, they don't have a cloaking device per se, but they have that look. Against space, you might not be able to see them. They really do function as shadows. They're just really cool, really creepy, and incredibly, incredibly powerful.
Babylon 5 is a good example of how the United Nations or NATO can work and fail at trying to do its job. Here's the problem. Like Babylon 5, it was originally an initiative by the Earth government, but then when the Earth government gets kind of wonky, they don't really like Babylon 5 so much. I don't know if you ever got this impression from the show. I think they sent Sheridan there, the new administration that took over the presidency, because they thought Sheridan would just muck it all up, because they figure here's a guy who's probably hated by the Minbari. They'll drop out of the console because this is the only guy that managed to destroy one of their ships during the Minbari War, and he's just some soldier that'll do what we tell him to do anyway, because that's what he is. They underestimated him. That's what happened. Right. They thought he was going to be
In a way, it was a lot like, and I forget which one was it, the Romulan? I can't remember. Mm-hmm. In Star Trek V, they send somebody to Narendra 3 or whatever it is, which is supposed to be, a neutral ground where the Klingons, Romulans, and humans come together. And she comes in all optimistic. We're going to have galactic peace. And the Federation Klingon ambassador who've already been there are like, this is where you go for your career to die. They sent you here to get rid of you. You know, and that's I get that impression of that's what they saw Babylon 5 as. But if the story was where the Romulan ambassador comes in and convinces them, hey, we can actually make this happen, and she actually challenges them to start working together. Yeah, there's plus, I mean, you know, when an outside force comes along. I don't know, the Dominion. Another parallel.
Well,
never mind.
I can't believe I am actually defending Deep Space Nine. I'm the one defending Star Trek this time around. The Dominion. Well, no, because the Dominion was not the Star Trek ripoff of the Shadows. The Star Trek Over the Shadows was Species 7846 thing that were going after the Borg. That I felt was ripping off the Shadows or the Daleks, or maybe both. I don't know. Whereas I felt the Dominion. The Dominion was basically set up as an evil version of the Federation. That's how I saw them.
Yeah, well, I saw them as a watered down version of the Shadows. So,
well, anyway, what was I going to say though? But what I thought was interesting though, someone made a point how the UN can fail. The interesting thing about this show, the first two seasons start out, the last best hope for peace is Babylon 5. Season 2, last best hope for peace is Babylon 5. Season 3, Ivanov is doing it. The Babylon Project was our last best hope for peace. It failed.
It failed, yes.
And then you see
that was great.
And then they show all the scenes of, yes.
The first season of that season, or the first episode of that season, when she says that, you because you've been listening to it all along, and you think you know what she's going to say. It's like, damn.
It was a gut punch.
And
she was right. I'm sorry.
Yes, she absolutely was.
The last best hope for victory is Babylon 5, because now there's a horrible war going on. Yes, with the well, we want to get into it. We don't want to get into it, but anyway, Babylon 5, check it out. Someone mentioned it's on Tubi. It may be somewhere else closer to home. You may want to check it out. We're going to get to an article like that in a little while. But anything left to say on Babylon 5? I could
go on for hours talking about this